Well, it's a long winter's night and there's no point going out in the cold. The house is quiet except for a fire crackling in the corner. On the TV, it's the same old, so you switch over to YouTube and click on yet another courageous couple tackling the renovation of an unloved, dilapidated chateau. Quietly betting on whether YouTube will pay enough to cover next month's bills. At first, it's hard not to admire it. The scale of the task, the optimism, the sheer confidence it takes to look at the shambles of a property and say, yes, we can do this. There's something deeply appealing about it, especially on a night like this, when you're warm and snug indoors and someone else is battling leaking ceilings and drafty windows on your screen. Online, it looks like a shared adventure. Hundreds, sometimes thousands of people giving through crowdfunding, each helping out in their own way. The comments are encouraging, the messages are supportive. People feel involved, they feel invested, and in many cases they generally are, emotionally and often financially. Slates, windows, floors, entire sections of the building all get replaced thanks to crowdfunding. It's not abstract money, you can see where it goes. You can even point to it on the screen. In the series, it feels full of compassion and heartwarming generosity. People rooting for a project, for a building, for a couple who have taken on something most of us would quietly walk away from. This is Renovation Past. We are at the beginning of the story, when nobody's thinking about resale, because who does? At that stage, even the idea of selling up feels almost disloyal, like admitting defeat before the first winter has even passed. The project has just begun, the building is improving, subscriber numbers are growing and sponsorships are starting to raise their heads, and the money is coming in. Not always a lot, but enough to keep things moving, enough to believe the next stage is possible. At that stage, selling feels like something that belongs to a completely different future, a future version of yourself that you can't quite imagine yet. This version is busy getting through the winter, fixing leaks, filming updates, replying to comments and convincing yourself the momentum will carry on through. But life happens and plans change. Work budgets explode, energy runs out. The YouTube reception doesn't seem to be as big as you had hoped. Life has a habit of interfering with even the best intentioned projects. Motivations fade, and sometimes the numbers have just stopped adding up, and sometimes the money does too. And suddenly, the chateau that was never meant to be sold is for sale. This is Renovation Present. In the centre of a wood-panelled office sits a notary at his leather-topped desk. Sat opposite him are two couples, one selling, one buying. It's a quiet room filled with piles of files and documents, a thick file that represents years of conviction, of hope, of sweat and tears. Months of personal investment in video and a story that feels very famous, at least to one side of the transaction. And to the other, it's just a transaction. The file is open. The questions are not romantic, they are not cultural. They are down to earth practical, and they matter. Who financed what? Was anything promised? And does any of it attach itself to the building? This is where French property law steps in and does so with heavy shoes. It doesn't watch the videos, it doesn't read the comments, it doesn't care how hard the winters were or how supportive the audience felt. It looks at structure, it looks at obligations, it looks at ownership. It asks how the finances were framed, not why it was given. Was it a simple contribution with nothing expected in return? Was it linked to a specific part of the building, a roof tile, a window, a room people now recognise because they watched it being fitted out? Was there any suggestion, however casual, of permanence, access, future use or priority? Those distinctions feel minor at the beginning. Online they barely register. They're lost in the story, in the journey, in the editing. Sit in front of a notary though, they rear the big head. Because crowdfunding in France isn't illegal and in most cases it works perfectly well. The problem isn't the money coming in, it's what the money creates. If the support was simple and unconditional, the file usually stays clean. People helped, the work was done, the property is sold, and the next owner inherits nothing beyond stone, timber and a new dream. No expectations, no obligations, no loose ends. If there were symbolic gestures, a name in a book, a thank you on a wall, a mention in a video, and they say symbolic, they usually stop there. They belong to the story, not the structure. But once funding is tied to something physical, a name on a slate, a window, a room, a visible and permanent part of that building. The property starts to carry expectations. Not always legal rights, but expectations that need to be clarified, and clarification takes time. Emails go back and forth, further explanations are requested, buyers pause, not because they're difficult, but because they want certainty. And certainty at that stage just isn't there. From here on, there are three possible futures. In the first future, everything was thought through from the beginning. Nothing permanent was promised, nothing followed the building. The wording was clear, the structure was clean. The sale goes through quietly and cleanly. It's not dramatic, it's not interesting. And that is exactly how it should be. In the second future, things are not quite as clear cut. Nobody thought about any eventual problems. Funding was tied to specific elements without much thought. A slate, a window, a room. The notary asks questions. The buyers want reassurance. The seller has to explain decisions that made perfect sense at the time. The sale doesn't necessarily collapse, but it slows right down. And slow sales can get very expensive. And if they take too long, buyers can fade away too. And in the future, nobody planned for, promises went too far. Right of access, rights of use, rights that feel permanent to the people who contributed, and those don't disappear just because ownership changes. That's when delays stretch, that's when lawyers appear, that's when optimism meets reality. And as Dickens put it, Marley was dead to begin with. All three futures start the same way, with an unloved building, a couple of cameras, a short budget, and a lot of hope and good intentions. So if you're renovating and using crowdfunding, this isn't a warning to stop. It's just to say, plan ahead. Be clear about what's given in return. Be careful about what's promised, and assume that one day, if you have to resell your property, that notary hasn't watched you on YouTube. And if you're thinking of buying a property that is on YouTube or any other channel, pay attention. Don't just watch the story, read the paperwork. Look for anything that suggests third-party involvement, promised access or ongoing obligations. Most of the time there's nothing there, but when there is, it needs to be understood before you sign anything, not discovered later. Because every property purchase ends up being sold one day. And when they do, it's not the story that matters, it's the paperwork. So, if you found that interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell button for me. If not, I'll just have to say humbug to you all. I'm Dan Newton, the French estate agent.